乐队在现实生活里面超级不浪漫，就是直男。可是我不知道为什么90后或95后的解读是浪漫，就我个人也蛮好奇的。
因为浪漫都在一些我们看不到的细节里面，你可能只是在心里面听到，你也不会讲出来，对，因为讲出来就不浪漫。
Amidst the noise of scooters, the afternoon rain of the summer, and drunken nights with friends in the streets of Taipei, Taiwan, they would all do their parts in creating the sound of what would become Sunset Rollercoaster, the band of nostalgic love. My discovery of Sunset Rollercoaster was an off-chance click off of the internet. I was immediately welcomed by nostalgic instrumentals and psychedelic love. They have grown to be one of my favorite bands with their unique approach to lyricism, dreamy vocals, and retro sounds of jazz synth-pop. With how entrancing they are, I'm surprised to see that they aren't getting the attention and recognition that they deserve. While you may not have heard of them here in the West, they're making a name for themselves all throughout Asia, especially in their home of Taipei, Taiwan, where they are seen as an icon of city pop. The band started as a bedroom electronic duo that was into 80s new wave, Eurodisco, and so on. It was just two kids nerding around with gears and softwares. The name Sunset Rollercoaster would come from the preset called Rollercoaster for Apple's photo booth app, as it had a sunset in the background. They would use this to take pictures from MySpace, where they would initially upload their musical beats. A small indie music scene was beginning in Taipei, based at a club called Underworld, immersed in 60s and 70s garage and pre-punk. This is where Sunset Rollercoaster would begin, with friends hanging out to see live music, inspired by what they had heard. The band first formed in 2009, originally composed of only 3 members: Kuo Han-xiang, the guitarist and singer, Sun Lung-lo, otherwise known as ZL, who plays the drums, and the bassist, Kevin. After forming the band, they got rid of the computers and synthesizers they were experimenting back in their bedrooms. They instead picked up guitars and bass, inspired to play the rock music they had heard from their underground indie club, mostly playing 60s to 70s garage music as they were into the Velvet Underground, the Zombies, and the Strokes. With their limited instruments at hand and heavy inspiration from rock bands, they primarily created garage rock music, releasing their debut album, Bossa Nova, in 2011, where it was then met with critical acclaim. They disbanded shortly afterwards due to personal issues. The pressures of early success and a lack of comfort with the band's sound ultimately let it go to an immediate hiatus, with their bassist Kevin heading off into a different creative direction. In the meanwhile, Kuo and Lo Sun formed another band, Forest, to experiment with much heavier and darker sounds. Kuo was able to tour with a local pop star as a guitar sessionist, which allowed him to explore more genres other than just garage rock. The duo were taking their time to slowly but steadily listen to the jazz, blues, 60s and 70s R&B like Motown, and lots of music with sax. Kuo also took this break from Sunset Rollercoaster as an opportunity to enjoy his life. During these years, he knew deep down that Sunset Rollercoaster would come back eventually, but it was merely a matter of the right time. They would reform in 2015, adding several new members over the years. They initially added a keyboardist, a new bassist, and a percussionist. Soon after, another percussionist and a guitar and saxophone player would also join. With these new additions, the band was now able to experiment with synthesizers similarly to their beginnings as an electronic duo, and saxophone in jazz and soul music, creating a new sound that would result in the synth-filled EP Jinji Kiko. Released in 2016, it quickly gained international attention, especially through the internet with its amazing instrumental solos. They released their second album, Casanova, in 2018 and another EP, Vanilla Villa, in 2019. While there is a large scene of indie bands in Taiwan, they mainly play the mainstream indie sounds of shoegaze, post-punk, and noise rock, while also singing in Mandarin, unlike Sunset Rollercoaster, who has only ever written songs in English. It's also interesting to note that Kuo is the only band member that is able to converse in English fluently. He credits watching a lot of Sesame Street growing up as why he is able to speak so fluently. However, English being a second language for him is a huge factor in some of the dreamy lyrics that they have for their songs. He explains, "Even though English for me is an outsider thing, I can put a lot of my imagination into the language. Sometimes when I try to sing or write in Mandarin, I tend to think too much. In English, that would never happen." Most of the songs discuss the fantasy of love with psychedelic experiences with rather poetic lyrics such as, "'Cause only you, my babe, only you can conquer time. We could call it a night, let you be all the things you could be otherwise. And dreamers take your time, I live in the Libid dream, could never wake up. As Quo is the primary writer and only member of the band fluent in English, he's often the only singer as well. Behind his entrancing voice on the songs, you would never have guessed that he's rather insecure about it. He explains, I'm not that confident about my voice, so I spend a lot of time producing vocals, making it a bit more dreamy, which is more acceptable to my ears. Quo does a lot of double tracking and harmonies, only then to autotune them. He would sing in another key, tuning them down to bigger intervals to get a digital artifact to mix them back into the main vocal, which adds texture and support to a degree of originality. It is from Quo's creativity that he is able to get around his lack of confidence in his vocals that he is able to create this new, exciting sound. On top of that, Quo's flowery vocals are accompanied by his bandmates, where most importantly of all, it is the retro sounds of the band with the blazing synths, powerful saxophones, and bombastic bass that truly solidifies them as a band to fall in love to. The music can make you feel in love like you've never been in love before, or even recreate that feeling of a middle school crush. Just one listen to Sunset Rollercoaster and you can just feel how organic they are. While other musicians may have the mindset that every take should be perfect or that no mistake can be made, for Quo, it is not true to themselves, it is not organic. The band would spend a lot of time in the studio playing nonsense, but they'll record every single thing that they play, going home to check the footage and pick out the good parts for lyrics or melodies. They don't have a structured process, rather, they just go with the flow of the music. Quo will pick up a guitar and write a verse or chorus, take it up to the band to jam or improvise, and see where it goes. For example, in the process of making Casanova, their second album, they would record the band live, ripping things out track by track. Sometimes mistakes are made in the recordings with instruments or vocals bleeding into the mics of other instruments, as the band actually plays together for the take, rather than separately per track. But that ultimately becomes a part of their music. Sunset Rollercoaster is obviously still in the early phases of their career, but even with the little amount of time they've been producing music, they're making a strong name for themselves as the icon of city pop in Taiwan between their unique approach to lyricism, dreamy vocals, and romantically retro instrumentals. They've toured endlessly throughout North America, Europe, and Asia, winning a Golden Melody Award, Taiwan's equivalent of the Grammys, inviting their dads on stage to accept the award. I have no doubt that they will continue producing incredible music for years to come, because quite simply, their sound is timeless, with no bounds or limitations to be seen. They have put their heart into the music with the most organic, natural flow they could have. Just as they put their love into their music, you can feel the love of it, resulting in music that sings a universal language that we can all speak. Love.